Alright, YouTube. This is Died and Went to Hell Part 2. If you haven't seen Part 1, please go to my page, my channel, and you'll see I think it was the first video I posted like a week or so ago. I'll post the link down below in this video, but this is Part 2. In that video, I referenced something supernatural that happened to me a few days before I died from obstructive sleep apnea in 2020, in May of 2020. So I'm going to go ahead and go into detail about what that something was. Right now I am parked at Wawa's gas station because I came here to put some air in my tire. The time is 8:57 p.m. It is October the 28th. So let me go ahead and get into this. I had the death experience, I want to say it was maybe May 10th, May the 11th. It was early in May. But prior to that, the few days before that, I had one of those God experiences where you hear God's voice. And I know it sounds cliche, and it probably sounds like schizophrenic type stuff. I heard the voice of God, but I actually did hear it. So if anybody's wondering if he has an audible voice, yes, he does. And I'm not talking about talking loud in your head or a hard impression, which is mainly how he talks these days. When we read in the Old Testament how he spoke with Moses face to face, and he spoke with the children of Israel, the Israelites. I'm assuming that he spoke out of the sky, because multiple people heard him back then. He spoke with Methuselah. He spoke with all those great prophets from the Old Testament. He spoke with Moses face to face. And these days, most of the time, he impresses things on your heart, or he tells you things in your mind. He speaks with people privately. But there are some people who have given testimony saying that they actually heard his audible voice, as if he was sitting next to them like another person. And I used to think those people were crazy too. Like they must be borderline schizophrenic. Or maybe they just want to seem like they're super deep or sound super woke or try to sound like they're super close to God. And then it happened to me 4 years ago, and then I find out that those people are not crazy. Maybe some of them are, but I know all of them aren't. Just as sure as I'm talking to you right now and you can hear my audible voice, I heard his audible voice, and I was in my home alone. I'm a single woman with no children. Back then, I did have an off-again, on-again boyfriend, but he never lived with me. He was not in the apartment when this happened. As a matter of fact, he and I were on bad terms, and we weren't even speaking at the time when this happened. So I was in my apartment alone. It was in the daytime. It wasn't at night. And I was trying on some Fashion Nova outfits. I had ordered some clothing, and they had arrived earlier that morning. And this was during the COVID ordeal. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say pandemic, but this is around that time when this was still going on. And I think I was working from home, not sure. I worked for this huge law firm, and it was a time when they put us on furlough and we were working from home. And I was trying on my Fashion Nova outfits in my floor length mirror that was attached. It was one of those mirrors that hang across the door, and it's a long mirror. You can see your full body on it. I was trying on my Fashion Nova outfits, looking in the mirror, very proud of the outfits, I want to say the hot girl outfits that I had just bought, and making, in my mind and in my heart, making plans to just go out and do my thing. I was upset with that guy who I was seeing. I was pretty sure he was messing around and cheating too. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do this good girl thing anymore where I just go to work and come home and occasionally go to church. I'm going to start going out and hanging out, and maybe even going to clubs too, because I live near a beach this time, but this beach was downtown, and it was also close to a lot of pubs, hotels, bars, etc. All the action in the city was clustered in this area, and I was very close, within walking distance of it. So I'm making plans in my mind. You know what? I'm not going to live this sheltered life anymore. I grew up sheltered with an overprotective mom and father. So now that I'm an adult, what am I waiting on? Sit in this house waiting to get married? No, I want to go out and live my life. So I was already living in unrepentant sin. I hadn't prayed or talked to God or confessed or anything in years. And I was just basically living off of his grace, because there were so many instances where I was supposed to die. I'm going to have to do a whole series on that, because so many near-death, really near-death experiences, accidents, malfunctioning cars that weren't even supposed to be on the road, and I'm speeding in them and nothing happened to me. But in this instance, I'm in the mirror trying on my Fashion Nova outfits, making plans, about all the stuff that I'm going to do. My ex-best friend from high school had just reconnected with me. She and I had a falling out because years earlier, when my mom passed away in 2018, I felt like she wasn't there for me, so I stopped speaking to her. She reached out to my sister, who then said, hey, Jay wants me to give you her number so you guys can link back up. She's sorry, etc., etc. So I'm like, okay. And this girl is in the lifestyle. She's deep in the world. She grew up without her mom. Her mom passed away when she was like 10 or 11. And her father was her custodial parent, but he was always gone, so she pretty much did whatever she wanted. She was deep in the world. She and I are kind of in the same age group. I'm like a year older than her. She doesn't have any kids. She and I are both team no kids. We're cat ladies. And she wants to reconnect with me, and she's an exotic dancer at this point. So she's like, come hang out, in Miami while I'm dancing. Me and we can reconnect. So I'm in my living room trying on my Fashion Nova outfits, and my mom making all kinds of plans. And out of nowhere, a voice that was loud, and I don't even know how to explain it, so I'm gonna word it the best way I can. It was so loud it felt like a bell. Have you ever stood next to like a church tower or cathedral where they have those huge bells at the top, and when it rings at a certain time, like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, it vibrates your body and your chest and your ears and everything? This voice felt like that. It sounded like it was in my head, it was in my chest, and it also sounded like it was in the room with me. It was a loud, audible voice. The TV was not on. I was home alone. I looked underneath the bed to make sure that no one had snuck in when I was gone. I looked inside their closet where I was prancing in front of the mirror. I looked inside the bathroom shower. I looked in the cabinet, and I didn't see anything. And then I heard it again. Another voice spoke to me and said, ignore that voice. That's just you, talking to yourself. I know now that was Satan's voice. But then the other voice, the loud voice, said my name again and said, if you die today or tomorrow, do you know where you're going? That's what he said to me. He asked me that 3 times, and every single time I heard it, I kept looking underneath the bed, looking in the bathroom, looking in the closet, and then I knew right then and there, this is God's voice talking to me. He heard my plans. He can read private thoughts. He reads your heart too. And when I decided that I'm going to go run the streets and wear these hoochie mama clothes and go do whatever I want and live my life the way I wanted, he saw that I was on borrowed time, and that first of all, he knew that I had a medical condition that I didn't even know about. I had no idea I had obstructive sleep apnea. No idea. Nobody in my family had it, never heard of it. He knew that this condition was going to kill me. And here I am about this close to my death date, and decided that I'm going to die in unrepentant sin, going to go live a life of rebellion. So that was my warning. That was my close call with God. It was early May of 2020. It happened 4, maybe 5 days before I actually did die from obstructive sleep apnea. But before then, I was given a warning. I just couldn't believe it. It was a loud, audible, the way I'm talking to you right now, voice of, if you die today, do you know where you're going? And clearly he knew, which is why he came to warn me. He was right there in that house. He might as well have been sitting on the bed because that's how loud it was. So if anybody wants to know if he has an audible voice, yes, the Most High does have an audible voice. He didn't just speak to Moses face to face. He's speaking to human beings these days face to face. And I'm one of those people. And I heard it, and I don't even know how to explain it. It was loud, and it vibrated my whole body, my ears, and it also sounded like the ocean waves, like the ocean water. That's what it sounded like. And that experience was the prelude to the actual death experience that he also brought me back from, and that's why I'm here today. Because the Most High is a loving Father who reaches out to those who he wants, and I was a mess, and I'm a mess now, but for some reason he still wants me. So that's the only reason why I'm here. Otherwise, I would probably be, you wouldn't even know I exist. I wouldn't exist anymore. I'd probably be in hell right now. So if you haven't heard his audible voice, maybe pray and ask him. I heard it underneath horrible circumstances. The circumstances under which I heard it, it was negative, but I would love to hear him again under good circumstances, But yeah, seek him every single day and repent every single night, so you don't end up getting that father-daughter warning like I got, because that was not a good conversation to be having. But that was Died and Went to Hell part 1 to subsequent part 2. That was the experience, that was the encounter I had with the Most High before I died, and he brought me back. Have a good night, YouTube.